Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training. Just giving people a minute or so to join us if they are. Looks like my sound is working properly, so that's always good. Pardon me. Sorry about that. All right. So as the week continues, we're doing daily trainings. This is to help the console customers who have migrated to Dash and may have not already been to a training session, or they're sending new admins to get trained. So on our screen here, we're at the Dash login page, which is dash.virtualpbx.com. And the system asks you for your email address, your password, and your account name, which is typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you did not get an email with your password, over here on the towards the bottom right, you can click on Forgot Your Info. It's going to flip this around. Still going to ask you for your email address / username, and then one of the two, right? You need either your account name or your one of your account phone numbers. And then you click on Reset Password. You'll get an email. The system will get you in so you can change your password. Once you've changed your password, it's going to log you back out, basically forcing you to re-log in with your new password to help you remember it. But at that point, I say just click on Remember Me, so that way you don't have to remember yet another password. Let's go ahead and get logged in here. Now, this is a test account that I've been into several times, so this is where it starts me off at. If you've just signed up, or this is your first time logging into Dash, you're actually going to end up a page up here for your user page, right, or your user account info. So you can change your email address, your password, your time zone, etc. As an admin, you also have the account information here, which most people end up changing the time zone to match their actual location if it's not already correct. On a live account, you have another section here for admins where you can update your credit card information, see your service plan, and also get invoices. Also, that first time logging in, little wizard will pop up, giving you highlights, basically, what things are and what you can do. When you're done, go ahead and click Close here at the top right, and you'll be back here on the dashboard page. So along the top here, again, you click on your name. That will take you back to that account page. If you have a D&D icon, this means you're not in a queue. Generally speaking, if you're assigned to an ACD queue, you're not going to have a D&D toggle. We found that has caused some problems with the people in queues. Here we got the question mark icon. You got Chat with Us. This will open up a chat window with our support team, and they can help you set up different aspects of your system. Up here next is the go to our support pages, right? So you can see the written guides as well as some videos about the various features. The online store, store.virtualpbx.com, in case you need to order a VoIP phone or you want the desktop soft phone. There's also headsets and routers there. And then the web phone link only shows up after you've added a web phone to your user, but this will take you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. It uses your Dash login information and allows you to use Chrome or Firefox on a computer to make and receive calls. Over here, we've got the hamburger or menu icon. This takes you to some additional features of Dash. These are almost all admin features that you're seeing here. The queues and the user portal will show up for everybody, assuming that they're in a queue. Right? If they're not in the queue, then that won't show up, and the user portal will show up for every user. And then over here on the left, this is where we have the core Dash features. And then here's the snapshot of your system, right? So I have 27 total users on my account, right? So these are people who are making and receiving calls. Depending on your plan, adding a user may increase your bill. For our migrated customers, your plan, your your plan was basically grandfathered in. So whatever you were paying before is what you should be paying now. And that includes if you had to pay more to add a user, you're still going to have to pay more to add a user on Dash. Total devices shows all my devices on the account. All right, cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. The web phone, we just talked about. Soft phone, this software application, usually on a computer, can be on a laptop or a mobile phone or a tablet, uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. SIP phone, this is a physical VoIP phone, right? So it sits on someone's desk or at least near the router if they're using a cordless handset. There are other types of VoIP phones on the market, right? So if you walk into your local computer store, you may see VoIP phones, but they may have different kinds of protocols that they work with, right? So SIP is a particular subtype. So in that scenario, you'd want to look for a SIP compliant or SIP compatible phone, and then you have a chance of making it work with us. Landline, pretty self-explanatory. Most of us have had used one of those at one time or another. Unregistered devices, I've got 13 here. That's the system saying, hey, you have 13 phones that we can't send calls to. Now, typically, this is in relation to your VoIP phones, but if you also disable a device like a cell phone or a landline, they would also count as unregistered. Total phone numbers on the account. For these signups, your plan will include anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your plan price. If you go beyond that allotment for your plan, then I believe it's $199 a month per phone number. It could be up as high, anywhere from $199 to $499 per month per phone number. And then we have a breakdown here, assigned numbers and spare numbers, right? So assigned number means I'm using it. It's going someplace, right? It's a main number. It goes to my salesperson, Bob, right? It goes to my billing ring group, or goes to one of my ACD queues, right? So it's in use. Basically, someone can dial it and get to somebody, or a voicemail, right? Spare numbers, the number on my account, but I'm not currently using it, right? It says it ring to somebody, doesn't go to voicemail. Now, basically, people can dial it, but they're not going to get anywhere, right? That could be because you had a promotion just end with a specific phone number, and you're like, okay, we don't need calls on this number anymore. Let's put it away so people stop calling. Or it could be like you got a block of numbers in sequence, and you just haven't gotten to the last couple of numbers. Right. The other breakdown here, we have USDID and US toll-free, right? US toll-free, right? That's actually, this should be North American toll-free, but 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833 currently, right? USDID, that's just saying US local number, right? So say a phone number in Manhattan Beach, California versus a phone number in Fort Worth, Texas, right? You can have them in both, that's fine. You can also have a section here for international numbers if you have them on your account. If you're interested in adding an international number, you're going to need to email our porting team, so porting, P-O-R-T-I-N-G, at VirtualPBX.com. They're going to need the city and country that you want a number in. The porting team will then let you know if there's additional requirements and or if numbers are not available, etc. And that varies from country to country. Right? Germany, they require proof of presence within that city. Usually a utility bill is enough, right? And then you can get a number. Whereas currently in the UK, they don't have any requirements, so we can usually get a number assuming one's available. All right, conference bridges. This is just saying that you have enabled conferencing on 6 of your users. You're not able to do that until you actually have a main conference number, which I already have, but we'll get into that shortly. Over here on the top right, we've got your main company numbers. So these numbers, right? These oops, counted as a click. Anyway, so these numbers all behave the same way. They're going to route to the same location. So like if, for instance, you have all these numbers go to your virtual receptionist, they will all play the same main greeting, and they're all going to route to that virtual reception. All right, conference number. All right, this is the number everyone dials to get to your conference rooms, and then they enter the conference room number and PIN number. Your fax box number. This once you have a fax box number, you've enabled faxing on your system. This is the number your faxes go to. Your company directory, this is a download file. It's a text file. It has all your users and their extensions. The soft phone directory download, this is for use with our desktop soft phone application. Basically, you download the file, you upload it to your desktop soft phone from us, and this allows you to see the status of your other soft phone users on the account. Right? So if I've done this, so if I bring up my soft phone, I can actually see, oh, my coworker Jeff is on a call on his soft phone right now. There's no point in me trying to call him at this time, right? It also allows me right from the directory to call them instead of trying to remember their extension number. Store discount code, again, just for being a customer, you get a discount in the web store. And then the account realm. Account realm is used for a couple of different things. One is to program a third-party VoIP phone or soft phone application, right? So you're using a soft phone from Counterpath, for example, or you weren't able to find your VoIP phone in our SIP phone list, which we'll get to in a little bit. You could use this realm information as part of what you do to program that application or device. The other thing the realm is used for is for faxing out. So on Dash, currently faxing out is an email to fax service. So you create an email, has to be the email address you use for your username. And in the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area coded phone number you're faxing to, a little @ symbol, and then your account realm. And then you simply attach a PDF or a TIFF file and click send. There's no reason to type in the body of the email because the system will only fax out the PDF, right, the attachment. Additionally, the system will only attempt to send one attachment, right? So if you put in, 3 attachments to try to fax out, the system's only going to pick one of them and fax that one. And I haven't seen any consistency on, which one it chooses when it has multiple. So it's best just to do one fax per email. All right, up here at the top, we've got caller ID. Now this is a pull down, which unfortunately my streaming software here doesn't always let me show all the pull downs. But you can choose any of your main numbers, and then you've got the company caller ID name field. This field you can enter in up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters, and this will then show up on your outbound calls from your VoIP devices. Now, there are some caveats about the outbound caller ID name. One, once you click Save Changes here, it takes about 3 business days for that to get updated among the various servers among the carriers who support company caller ID name, CNAME. Not every carrier that your call can route through supports CNAME, right? Just some carriers have chosen not to support it for whatever reason, their choice. That's normally for usually the smaller regional carriers, and there's nothing we can do about it, right? So if a call goes through them, your company caller ID name is not going to show up. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, if they have extremely heavy call traffic, they're going to drop the CNAME, right? Their priority first, connect the call, right? And then the caller ID, the phone number, right? Distant third is the CNAME, right? Obviously, any carrier is having an outage or a major, maintenance issue. Again, they're more concerned about connecting calls first and foremost. The last minor caveat is if you're calling someone and they already have your company numbers programmed into their device, then whatever they labeled you, that's going to supersede whatever we sent, right? The local supersedes the inbound. All right, down below here, we've got the company emergency information, or E911. And you're just putting the address associated with this phone number, right? So this will be, if you end up selecting this as your main company number, for example, or the default here for the caller ID, then this would be the default address that would be transmitted to emergency services when you dial 911 from one of your VoIP phones. Now, you can set up the E911 for each phone number, and you can actually set it up, select it on your devices, right? So when you set up for each phone number, then the devices, you can select which E911 address they would use. And then any changes here, go ahead, click on Save Changes. All right, next up we got hold music. So on Dash, hold music is defined once a caller has reached a user, and then that user puts the caller on hold by pressing the hold button on their wait phone, right? And then that's when this file will play. Now, on Dash, you can upload your own hold music. All right, simply find the file on your computer. Actually, you will click Upload, find the file on your computer, and then click the little upload icon here, and it will upload the file. Now, Dash can play back .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. You're going to want to record these in mono, not in stereo, and you need to keep them under 1 megabyte. So 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes. And you're going to hear that combination of things several times as we talk about uploading media. All right, the hours is actually part of main number. So let's go into main number on purpose this time. And we wait for it to load, and there we go. All right, so up at the top, these are your main company numbers. All right, so these are your general numbers that your customers call in. If you want to add a number, you can either add from your spare numbers, right? So I have a few on this account, so I can add any of these right here to become a main number, or I can buy a new number, right? Local or toll-free, right? Toll-free is pretty easy. You just pick your preferred toll-free prefix, click search, and you'll see a list. And if you keep scrolling down, it will keep propagating more until it runs out. Click add on a number you like, or on multiple numbers you like, and then you click buy, right? And then it will add it to the account. If you decide, oh, wait a minute, I don't really like this number after all, I can remove it from the cart. Now, even though the system says buy a number, you're not actually being charged for it. For a new number purchase, it would only come up once your next billing cycle comes up, and then it would say, are you over your allotment, yes or no? If yes, then you would have a charge. All right, for local numbers, you search by area code. Hold on. Let's try that again. All right, let's go 626. See if that's a valid area code. There we go. Again, same kind of idea, right? You've got multiple numbers. You can click add, goes into the cart. You can scroll down. You can look for more. But when you're done, you just click on buy numbers. Right, it's verifying the number was really available, and then putting on your account, and boom, there we go. Right, so any place you can add a number, you can do the same process, right? You can either choose from add from spare, or you can just buy a number and add it directly to where you want it. Right, so if you want your salespeople to have the individual phone numbers, you can do it right there on the user page for your groups, etc. Now, for these numbers, you have this little gear icon, right? So you can set up the caller ID, right? So you can set up the CNAME information. You can allow the inbound caller ID name to show up. You've got the E911. Again, you can set the specific address. And then you also have prepend. This is a VoIP phone feature. You can add text in front of the caller ID that shows up on the VoIP phone's display. So basically, let your staff know what the call's about, right? So I could put like San Jose in front of this 408 number, so my staff knows, oh, this is about the San Jose opportunity. All right, next up, we got the office hour strategy. So for new signups, you start off at 24-hour open office. Most people choose custom office hours. For our migrated customers, our upgrade team would have matched your day-night mode settings and put them here. For each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark. And then in these boxes to the right, you indicate your open hours in 24-hour or military time. So in this case, 9 to 5. You also have the option down here to say, hey, I'm closed for lunch, right? So your whole office or whole facility, everyone goes to lunch at the same time, and then you can indicate your lunch hours here. And then You can't see it on this screen right now, but there's save changes. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark up here. And then you've got the option here to add a holiday, and you click on it. You've got three options, right? Single day, date range, advanced. If you select any of these, it creates a new row. And then, for instance, you got single day here, President's Day. You give it a name, and then you select the month and the date that you want the holiday to take effect. Likewise for date range, like here we have up here for Christmas. Then you give it a name, the month and day that it starts, and the month and day that it ends. Right? And then advanced, you've got this one here, retreat. You give it a name, and then month, and then the parameter, right? So the first, whatever, second, third, fourth, or last, and then the day of the week, right? Right, Sunday through Saturday. So in this case, hey, first Friday in July, it's company picnic day, the office is closed. One caveat to keep in mind is for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, right? So there's no year indicator here. So for those 2 days, you want to do a single day for each, right? So a single day for New Year's Eve, a single day for New Year's Day. If you do a date range that covers them both, again, since there's no year indicator, the system just puts you in after hours mode because you're, hey, you're closed all year. And again, save changes if you make any. Now, incoming call handling. So this is for your main numbers, right? And now we're on our open hours. You have the tabs here for after hours and holidays. And if you click close for lunch, you would also have a lunch hours tab. But you have the same basic options for all your times of day. So first one here, call comes in from any of my main numbers to the virtual receptionist. This is a link. Looks like my greeting was removed. That's okay. That's fine. Now, over here on the left, we've got your main menu, right? So these are what people press on their phone to navigate through your phone system. This is on top of any extension numbers that they may know. Now, if you need to add a route, you can do so. And then you have a pull down, which unfortunately is not working. And then you decide where it goes. So if I go up here, for example, we can show, right, here's the directory. I can send it to a specific person. Scroll down a ways. I can send it to one of my call queues, like the one it's already going to. I can send it to a specific phone, right? So I want this soft phone to ring when people press that option, right? So like it goes back to your warehouse, right? Just ring the warehouse phone. They'll answer or they won't. A media file, which basically plays a greeting. Now, by default, the media file will then end the call when it's done playing. You could do submenuing though instead if you wanted. You'll scroll down here. Groups, shorthand for ring groups. This is like a department. So multiple staff members are in a group, typically speaking. Advanced call flows, in this case, these are additional attendants. So now on Dash, this is actually relatively new, you can have multiple attendants and you can use those to do submenuing on your account, right? So I can say, hey, press 1, and I can go to one of these two other attendants. When the customer presses 1, they get sent to the other attendant. They'll hear a whole new greeting play, and they'll have a whole new set of menu options to choose from. Right, and then I can link it back and have an option go back to the main menu. And then you can also send callers to a voicemail box. Now over here, you've got different greeting options. So you can do text to speech. All right, so you can say, oh, wow, apparently I can't type. So, okay, text to speech, you can type in what you wanted to say and then click update. And then you would click save and then save changes over here. You can upload your own file. Again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. You can choose from a pre-existing recording. So basically any file that you've already inputted. Oh, that's what it's telling. Interesting. Recorded over the phone. The system by default wants you to use a VoIP phone to do this, but basically you call your main number and then you enter in a PIN number, and then the system will walk you through recording a greeting over the phone. Now, for a new sign up, you probably don't have a greeting in play, so that's pretty easy. You call in, you enter in the PIN number, you start recording. For existing customers or our migrated customers, you probably already have a greeting file in place because the upgrade team would have said, hey, this is the file they normally have. We'll put it here. So if you call in, and so you have greeting A is playing, and the greeting starts playing when you call in, you hit the PIN number, so in this case 0907, the system will still prompt you on how to record a new greeting. The file name greeting A stays the same, but the content will just be overwritten with what you just record. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, if you don't want to use a VoIP phone, right? For instance, you have a friend, they've got that great radio voice, right? Yeah, but they only have a cell phone. Yeah, well, you can go down here and make sure allow outside recording is turned on, and then they can call in from their cell phone and record it over the phone. Now, the PIN number here is specific to the time of day, right? So this PIN number will only work during my open hours, because that's the menu I'm in, right? So if I want to do update my after hours, right, it has its own PIN number, but it only works in my after hours. Right. Professional recording services, when you click order, it will take you to a new website hosted by Snap Recordings, who we've partnered with. They have 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from, various versions of English, French, and Spanish, at least last time I checked. And so you can do multilingual greetings. You can do, they have hold treatment, that's what they call it. So basically a mix of music and a script. They handle their own pricing and their own billing, right? Basically they ask you for a credit card. They usually deliver via email, so then you can just upload a file. All right, so then we got these settings down here. Number of retries on missed dial. Basically what I'm saying is when someone calls in, they can mess up 2 times before the system either goes to the default route or ends the call. Right, so basically someone calls in and let's say they keep pressing 5, right? It's not a valid option. System says, okay, you input an invalid entry. I'm going to transfer your call. In this case, we're sending it to Denard here. Now, dialing timeout, this is set to 1 right now. What that is after the system hears a button press, it will wait a second and then say, oh, they're done, and then send the call off, right? So if you set this to 10, the system will wait for 10 seconds after it hears a button press before it assumes someone's done, right? For most people, I say, 2 or 3, usually good enough. Most people tend to hit menu options pretty quickly. Now, because robodialers are such a thing, I usually don't recommend a default route unless you have specific routing needs in that case. Because basically what happens is a robodialer will come in, they won't hit anything, right, because they don't have fingers, but they'll hear your greeting play a couple times as the system waits for them to try to enter something. And then after that final attempt, it sends it to your default route, which means you have these robodialers using up minutes on your plan potentially, as well as either your staff members or get to hear traffic noise or random music file, or the Nigerian prince who wants to give you millions of dollars if you only send him 50 grand, that sort of thing. Likewise, you can get those voicemails. So I say normally for most people, just get rid of the default route, so then robodialers have one less option of getting through. Now, any changes you make, either on the main menu, the greetings, or these settings here, you click Save, and then you click Save Changes here. All right, so these are the routing options here. Call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob Smith, so my user Bob. If he's not able to answer, then it goes to this virtual receptionist. Right, if I click on this, it'll pop on the same options that we just had. All right, so the point of this routing option is you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members an opportunity to answer the call. If they're not able to, then the inbound caller gets the virtual receptionist, where they then have the opportunity to enter in a menu option or an extension number. All right, this is a pull down, so you can choose from different users, or you can send to a call queue, which typically queues have multiple users. You can send it to a specific device. Scrolling down further, you can send it to a media file. Now, the media file might be confusing because then you potentially have two greetings playing back to back, which might throw your customers off. Just something to be aware of. And then you also have groups, right? So a group, again, a department. And then you can send it to your advanced call flows, although I'm not sure what the point of that would be. Third option here, call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob. He's not able to answer, it goes to voicemail. Right, this has the same options. You can send it to users, groups, queues, media file, device, etc. The last option, though, is right here, is skip to voicemail. So you can just send a caller straight to a voicemail box. This I typically see for customers who put it on their holiday, right? So it's like, hey, call comes in, we're just sending you to voicemail. We'll get back to you when the holiday's over. This last option here is just advanced call flows, so you can send it to one of your other attendants, typically not used for most people. Again, so your after hours and your holidays, you still have these same options, but these virtual receptionists are unique to each one, right? So they'll have different menu options, they'll be going to different places, and you'll most likely have different greetings. The same would apply for lunch hours if that was here. All right, main conference number. Again, you can add from spare or buy a new number. You've got the custom greeting. Basically, this is a text-to-speech greeting where you can enable it and put in a message, and then you would click on save. Even if you don't have a message, the system will say, welcome to the conference. Please enter the conference number and then the PIN number. But once you've assigned a number here, now you can enable conference bridge on the individual users. The main fax box number, again, this allows you to receive faxes. If you don't have one here, again, you have the option to add from spare or buy a new number. And then you can click on edit fax box. Now, on this account, the fax box is not working properly. On your account, it will pop open with two fields. The first is for the inbound notification, right? You put in an email address there. That's the person or email address that's going to get the inbound fax, right? They get an email saying, hey, you have a fax? Here's a PDF, right? They double click on it, open it up, they can see what the fax is. The second field is for the outbound permissions, right? So you can specify a specific email address, for example, that they get the fax out, no one else can. Or if you own your own company domain, for example, you can put that domain in place, and then anyone at your company can then fax out. They just have to have that format, the +1 area code and phone number, @ account realm, attach a PDF or TIFF. All right, auto attendance, since I've already talked about this a little bit. So there's a couple of reasons to have multiple auto attendants. One is because you're having multiple businesses going into the same account, and you want them to have their own phone numbers and their own greetings, right? So like this Niner Nation business, right, has this phone number, it will have a different greeting versus, say, this Vegas base, and different phone number, actually multiple phone numbers, that's what that little icon indicates there. And then it has its own greetings. So to add an attendant, you click up top here, you give it a name, and you give it an extension number. The extension number can actually be used by your staff to transfer calls to a new auto attendant, right? So like, oh, you want to talk to the Vegas people, let me send you to them, and your staff member would simply transfer to this extension. Now, once you have created an extension, you can click on the name, You can delete an attendant, and you have this option here to, right now it's unavailable in a main menu. You can click on this to make it available in a main menu, and then click on Save Changes. If you go up here, right, I've done that here. So when you put it available in a main menu, that means it's now on your virtual receptionist, right? It was that option under Advanced Call Flows, and it could show up on any of your other attendants, so you can do the sub-menuing. All right, phone numbers, add from spare, buy a new number. Extensions, you can add additional extension or unassign the existing extension. And then the little wrench icon under settings will open up, and there we go. Now, you see here, you only have the one incoming call handling, right? So it only goes to the virtual receptionist. The after hours and holidays are going to match your times, the times you set under the main number, right? So that you can't have you can't have Niner Nation have different open hours than your virtual receptionist or under the main incoming call handling. But again, here you've got, when you click on virtual receptionist, you've got your menu options here, you got your greeting options here, as well as your settings. So you would click save and then save change. Devices shows all your devices on the account. If you need to add a device, oh, actually, hold on. So green means the system can send a call to it, right? As far as we know, it's connected and registered. Red, unregistered, we can't send a call to it. Black means you turned it off. You disabled it, so we can't send a call to it. Adding a new device, you've got these options here. SIP phone, again, that physical VoIP phone. Look for your manufacturer here. And if you click on the manufacturer specifically, then you can select a model. You give the phone a name, right? So Doug's phone. And then you enter in a MAC address. The MAC address is unique for each phone, often a sticker on the back of the phone. You can also typically, on the menu on the phone itself, click menu, then status, and usually the MAC address is displayed there as well. And then you click on create device, and then you're given the option to assign it to a specific user. Now in Dash, that's all you need to do. On the phone, you do need to get into the phone's web UI and need to enter in a URL. Basically, you're telling the phone, hey, go here, and then it will get its config file. And then the phone will reboot a couple times, and then will show up as a green device. Now, for the specific steps and that URL, you want to go to the support pages. And then under VoIP phones, you're looking for the auto provisioning phones guide. It will have screenshots for most of the manufacturers there, as well as that URL that you need to place. Now, if your phone isn't listed here, right? So like, oh, I don't see my manufacturer, or I don't see my specific model of phone, then you would have to use the soft phone. So let's skip down to that one here. Now, first is this little warning message, basically saying, hey, because of wireless technology, your E911 may not be accurate. So please be aware of that. Go ahead and close that. And then now we're on a third-party soft phone, right? So you give it a name. So we can say Susie's phone. And then to say, so say we're programming a third-party VoIP phone, right? So it didn't show up under the SIP phone list. You're going to need the SIP username, right? So you copy and paste that. You click on the SIP password box to see the SIP password, and you would copy and paste that. And then the realm, right? You'd copy and paste that. Those are the three pieces of information you would need to program that VoIP phone, or say that soft phone application you got from CounterPass, right? Those are the three pieces of information that you would need to get it to work with us. Now, there might be other settings involved. You can check on our support pages to see if we have a guide for your specific phone or application. We do have some guides up there for these other devices. However, there are just so many that even for just soft phone applications, that we just can't keep up. Now, if instead you just like, okay, I don't want to deal with this other third-party application that sounds complicated. Or I just, I want to make use of that desktop soft phone directory feature. What you do here is right here where it says use third-party application, right between the, right, so right below the realm. If you click on that, it'll flip it, say use VirtualPBX application. You give it a name, and then you would select the owner, right, to assign it to somebody. And then you click on create device. So what happens is after you create device, that person gets an email saying, hey, your new soft phone is ready with their username and password. Now, the desktop version of the VirtualPBX soft phone app does require a license fee. So you'd want to go up to the store and order that to get that taken care of. So then you would get the download links for Windows or Mac OS. If your staff member is just going to use it on, say, their iPhone or their Android phone, right? So once they get the email, they can just go to the App Store, download VPBX phone, log in, and they're good to go. All right, cell phone and landline are essentially the same. You give it a device name, right? So you say it's Susie's phone. And then you put the number, +1 area code and phone number. You need all of that, and then you assign it to a person. Click on create device. Now, when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or a landline, right, this is the default settings under advanced. So what happens is that phone will ring, you pick up, and you're going to hear a message. This is a forwarded call. Please press 1. So when you press 1, you're telling the phone that yes, or the system that yes, you are there, and yes, you want to take your call. For our former vConsole customers, that was it's like pressing pound to accept the call, right? This time you just press 1. Now, that may not work for every situation, right? Maybe you're actually putting a phone number here to go to your automated answering service for your after hours people. In that case, you would want to put a check mark here, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now when Dash hears that pickup tone, it just connects the call, right? So for your automated answering service, it picks up, we connect the call, your call is now being handled by your automated answering service. Everyone's happy. Likewise, if you did this on someone's actual cell phone device, if their cell phone voicemail picks up, we still treat that like a connected call, so the inbound caller ends up on that cell phone's voicemail. Some people like that, some people don't want that whatsoever. So purely up to you. All right, this other thing that comes up is this one right here. Oops. To keep original caller ID. So say customer Mary is calling in, it gets to your cell phone. You see on your cell phone's display, you will see Mary's phone number, right? And you're like, I don't know that number. I'm not going to answer it. Goes to the system voicemail, and then eventually you check and contact customer Mary. Now, what you can do is uncheck this box so that when customer Mary calls in, your default number, right? So under the dashboard, the caller ID number, that one is selected. In this case, the 702 number. That's the phone number that shows up on your cell phone's display. You're like, oh, this is a work call. Okay, I have time to take this. Go ahead and press 1 to accept the call, or accept if you have allow use of cell phone's voicemail. Right, so then you can take the business call right off the bat. Don't have to worry about calling a customer back. Right, so basically a way to let you know call coming in on your cell phone or landline is a business call. Right, cell phone. So let's do the web phone. Again, web phone, you get that same message about wireless technology. This is simple, right? You just give it a name, you assign it to a person, you click on create device. The next time that user logs into Dash, right, they'll have the little web phone link here, or they can just go to webphone.virtualpbx.net. They can log in using their Dash login information using Chrome or Firefox on a computer to make and receive calls. All right, let's go to the greetings manager. This shows your greetings on the system. All right, so you get the file name, you get the type, the source, TTS, right, text to speech. Upload means I uploaded a recording, and then recording means I recorded it over the phone. You got a download link here so you can listen to the file to make sure it's still relevant. Little wrench icon. You can change the name or just delete the greeting if you no longer need it. Likewise, up here, you can add greetings, right? You give it a name, you find the file, and you click on Create Greeting. Again, for the file, .wav.mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Next up, we've got groups. Groups is shorthand for ring groups. To create a group, you click Add Group, you give it a name, you give it an extension number, right, so people can transfer calls to it, and then you click and drag the people that you want to be in the group, and then you would click on Create Group. So once the group's created, you can click on a name, you can change the name, and then you also have this dialing repeats option. What this is how many times the inbound caller can ring through to all the group members, right? So in this case, I'm letting the caller ring through once, but you have little arrows up here at the right, so you can change it. Don't know that you would ever want to go much above 3, but those are your options. If you click on the members box, you'll see the people who are in the group, right? Here they are. Along the top here, these are timestamps, and then this one here, this is your maximum ring duration. Now you can change this, right? Make it 60 seconds. You can make it 600 seconds. And then you're deciding how you route in calls. So right now I'm having calls ring Denard, then Duke, Hatake, and then Kathy. I can change that, right? Like Kathy's my ace. She's been killing it this month, or this quarter. I can say, okay, here we go. Click distribute. Now Kathy's the first person getting the call, so that way she can hopefully complete sales, that sort of thing. Now, these are sliders. So I could also do a route like this for blast ringing, right? So it rings everybody at the same time for the same amount of time. Whoever picks up the call first gets the call. And like if you go back to distribute, right, because they're sliders, I can also do some overlap. And then you click on Save Changes. All right, so groups can have extensions, or multiple extensions, and they can also have their own phone number. Queues, right, ACD queues, they can only have one or the other. Another advantage groups have is that the groups doesn't care what kind of devices people are using, right? So we can send calls to cell phones, landlines, or VoIP phones. Queues can only, right now, take calls on VoIP devices, right? So SIP phone, soft phone, web phone. That's the only devices they can make use of in a queue. Group features. First up, we got ringback. Right, so again, you can upload a media file, .wav.mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte, and then you would click on the little up arrow, and this would just play while the person is waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. You want to make sure this file is as long as your ring time in the group, because the system will not loop it for you. Next action, if you enable this, basically you're saying, hey, no one answers, I'm sending the calls to voicemail, but you've got all sorts of options, right? I can send it back to the main menu. I can send it to a specific device. I can send it to another group, and I can send it to a specific user, as well as any voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're just allowing your users to make use of call forwarding, right, on their device or on their user. Essentially, they're not going to be at their normal desk phone, but they still want to be able to take the calls, so send calls to, say, their cell phone. Caller ID prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can put additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID, again, to give your staff members an idea what the call might be about. Numbers shows the numbers on the account and where they're going. Spare numbers, These are, again, numbers you're not using. Now, if you decide you don't want a number at all anymore, or like you're just looking for a way to decrease your bill, what you can do is you can click on these numbers and spare. Now you have the option to delete. You confirm the deletion, said, oh, successfully deleted, and now they're removed from your account. All right, you can buy numbers here, right? Local or toll free, same scenario as before. You do a search for the area code, and then it will add them here to your spare number list. So then you can assign them out later. Port, this starts the porting process. That's essentially moving a phone number from another carrier to VirtualPBX. So say from T-Mobile to VirtualPBX. You would follow these on-screen instructions, right? So you would give it a name, you can say it's a US local number, click next, and then it's going to ask you to upload a file, right? So we want a copy of the bill within the last 30 days in PDF. After that, it's going to start asking you for a LOA, a letter of agency. It will have a blank one here that you can download, fill it out, and then re-upload to the system here. And there's some additional steps it's going to walk you through, like including the address, etc. It does have some warnings about what to expect within that process as well. Now, for the LOA, the letter of agency, it does need to be completed and signed. On the LOA, it's going to ask you for things like the company name and address. That information should match what T-Mobile has on file for you, right? Because they're your current carrier. They're the ones who are currently controlling the number. So that information has to match what they have on file. Now, in the case of a mobile phone number, we are going to need an account PIN number, anywhere from 4 to 8 digits long. You're going to need to get that from the current carrier. This is a security feature on mobile phones, or mobile phone numbers rather, so that your cell phone doesn't suddenly just stop working on you, right? It's basically you're acknowledging, hey, yes, I'm going to port this out. I need this PIN number, and then we submit that as part of the port process. So when the port completes, the phone number goes from your cell phone onto your Dash account. So if you want to keep using that cell phone, you're going to need to get another number from T-Mobile in this instance, right? If you don't care, then you don't have to worry about it. Now, if for some reason, after you have all your documents, you'll submit it, right? It'll upload the documents. It'll say, hey, you get an email saying you have successfully submitted your porting request. Usually by the next business day, if not the same business day, you'll get another email from our porting team saying, hey, we did get your documents. Here's what to expect about the porting process. If you don't get that second email, that means the porting team didn't actually see your request yet. Worth at least emailing porting@virtualpbx.com to say, hey, did you guys get this? Or you can just simply email the documents to porting, right? If we get 2 sets, you're like, oh, it's the same number. We only need 1. Not a big deal. Oh, also on the LOA, it should be signed, right? It can be digitally signed, but it can't just have your name typed twice, right? That's going to get rejected. Who was forgetting something there? All right, users. This is where you add people to your account. Click on Add User. You put in their name. You put in their email address. Now, the email address for each user has to be unique. So that's something to keep in mind. You create a password for them, and then you give them an extension number. Now, on this system, I started with extension 1000, so it's saying the next one available in order is 1021. I can change this, right? I can make it, 4320 if I wanted to, or whatever. Then you've got these options down here at the bottom. Create a voicemail box for this user, automatically checked. That voicemail box is intrinsically tied to the user. So like, for instance, if you assign a VoIP phone to this user, they can pick up their VoIP phone, hit *98. That's going to take them directly to this voicemail box that you created for them here. And then they can create their own PIN number for that voicemail box, but they can also the system will direct them to record their greeting. All right. Include in the user company directory if you want them to show up in the directory or not. You can always change your mind later. All right. Send users to an alternate address. So by default, when say a user gets an email or a voicemail, it gets emailed to this the username email address, right? Whatever they use to log in with, that's the address that gets the voicemail messages. If you don't want that to happen, you click here to send to alternate address. You put a different email address here. This address will supersede the login email address. And then lastly, the most important one in my opinion, send credentials to the user, right? So when you click on create user, that person will get an email saying, hey, your Dash account has been set up. Here's your login information. Obviously, if you need to create more people, you would click over here on the right. Now, on the user page, you've got your standard users have the little gray person icon, whereas the people with the little blue suit are your system admins. If you click on a name, you can change their name. You can also change their credentials, right? So you can change their email, you can change their password. Now, if you have an instance where, like Bob here, can never remember the passwords I create for him for whatever reason, I might, all right, you know what? If you can't log in again here, I'm just going to click on this little link here. He's going to get that password reset email. He can create his own password. And then save changes. Voicemail box PIN, again, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to set a PIN number for them, right? They just need to hit *98, and the system will prompt them to set up their own PIN number. For your cell phone or landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them, though. Right, and then click on Save Changes. And here's the alternate address, and then also the option to include the user in the user directory. This is actually over here on the right is a pull down, so you can change a user to be a admin or an admin back down to a user. This is a time zone, right? So you can select the time zone for this user. This is the display language, right? So you can choose English, French, German, or Russian. That's basically what the web page is going to display as. The ringing timeout, this is how much time the system will try to ring a device or ring the devices on a user. For a new user, it actually defaults to 20 seconds. The reason you would go higher, like in this case, would be because, let's say, Bob is actually mostly using a cell phone, right? As far as PBX system is concerned, right? When a call comes in and we try to then reach that call out to a user, if we're trying to reach a landline, right? So the call goes to the landline carrier. The landline carrier knows exactly where that phone is. It sends the call, right? When we send that call to a cell phone carrier, the cell phone carrier has to find you first. Then they send the call to you. And that delay is why it takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than to a landline. And so, like, even with 20 seconds, sometimes your cell phone users, their phone might ring like once, right? So they're just reaching for the phone and then the call is gone. They may, and if they're like a heavy call traffic area, right? They could be they just get a missed call notification like my phone never rang, but the system says, hey, we tried to reach you for 20 seconds. So that's why you would want to bump that up for your cell phone users. And then main extension and then default. Actually, hold on a minute. All right. Users can have multiple extensions, right? You can choose to add an additional extension number if you want to. The use case that I thought was really kind of interesting is our head of our sales department. Whenever a salesperson leaves the company, he just takes over their extension number immediately. So that way, any inbound calls he can get and either allocate to the other salespeople, as well as any voice messages that have come in, so we're not missing out on any opportunities. Users can have their own phone number, right? Again, add for spare or buy a new number. They can have multiple if you want them to, right? And so this phone number bypasses your virtual receptionist, right? So it goes directly to the user. All right, so on the devices box, you can add devices directly to a user. You can see what they have now. You can unassign them if they're not using them. You can add from spares. So these are extra devices that you're not using right now. Or you can add new, right? You got the same options as under the device page. The advantage here is that you're just automatically assigning it versus having the extra pull down. Not really a huge time savings. Over here, you have user features. All right, caller ID number. This only works for users that have their own phone number. If you turn it on, you select their phone number, and that's the caller ID that shows up when they make an outbound call from their VoIP devices instead of your main number, right? So like your salespeople probably want that. Call forwarding, off, failover mode, or on. Now this is a feature your users can enable themselves. You don't need to do it for them. They can do this either via the user portal, or if they're a VoIP phone user, they can use a feature code to set it up over the phone. The main thing is that when you turn it on, you select either desktop or mobile phone. You enter +1 area code and phone number. This phone number, right, this should not be a device on the user already, right? This is something they use sporadically versus their everyday phone. And then you have these options over here. And you'll click on Save Changes. Failover mode for your VoIP phone users. If the system detects that your VoIP phone becomes unregistered and a call happens to come into your user at that time, it will then just automatically forward to your forwarding device, right? So it's a way to let you know your VoIP phone stopped working. You can, you obviously answer the call, help the customer, and then you can find out, did my internet go down, or did, the dog, when they chasing the cat, did one of them, rip the cable out of either the phone, the power, or the Ethernet, what have you. Hot desking, another VoIP feature. If you enable this, you enter a hot desk ID, so like 1000. You click on Save Changes. So what this is it's used for if you have office staff and they may be changing desks from day to day. So let's say like you have like a marketing person who comes into the office twice a week, right? So on Tuesday, they came in, they sat at the window corner, the corner window desk there, got the nice view, but they still want to take their calls. So on that desk, they pick up the VoIP phone, they hit *11, right? Feature code to turn on hot desking. They enter in the hot desk ID of 1000 in this case. And then the system will say your calls will be forwarded to this device. So anyone who calls into your system looking for this particular user, right, they hit their extension number, it rings at the phone that they said they're sitting at. All right, now it's Thursday, they come back in, and they're in one of the little cubicles because all the other desks were taken. They sit down at that phone, they hit *11, again, turn on hot desking. Now, to turn off hot desking at the end of their day, they hit *12. Probably should have mentioned that a little earlier. The feature codes, there is a section of feature codes within Dash that you can look at, as well as there's a page on the website for the support pages. Voicemail box, again, turned on because you created it for the user. Fax box, you can have users have their own fax box. So first you would enable it, and then you would either select a spare number, buy a new number, or assign an extension. Now typically, I say it's easier to use a phone number. For most fax machines and whatnot, it tends to be easier just to send directly to a phone number. Assigning to an extension, right, you have to find an open extension. You just enter it here and click Select Extension. But then the person who's faxing to you basically has to call your main number, then hit the extension number, and then hit Send Fax to get it to the extension owner. So that's why I say, hey, it's just easier just to assign a phone number straight to it. Conference Bridge. Again, if you enable it, it tells you the phone number. By default, it puts your conference room number as your extension number, and then you can, as an admin, you set up a PIN number. Now, the users can change the PIN number themselves. That's a feature under the user portal. So basically, these essentially a temporary PIN number. You click on Save Changes. They can change it themselves later. Follow Me is when you have multiple devices. In fact, right here, So this is how it looks like when you first enable Follow Me. It's like, do not ring on all your devices because the system's like, we don't know what you want to do. Right? So you choose what devices you want it to work with. Up here is my total ring time. Right? I can click Distribute. So just like kind of like ring groups. You say, oh, wait a minute, I want to actually do the cell phone here, but let me put that at the bottom. So then I can click Redistribute that way. And again, I can click the sliders if necessary. I can also change the ring time if I want to. Music on hold. You can have users have their own hold music. Right? Again, you can upload the file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. This will supersede the hold music that you uploaded on the dashboard page up here. Customized call recording. So when you enable it, it actually looks like this. Right? So everything is set to off. And then you just need to decide what kind of calls you're recording. Right? So inbound internal, right? Coworker Susie gave me a call. Right? Inbound external, customer called in. Outbound internal, right? So I called my coworker Bob because we needed to talk fantasy football. Right? Outbound external means I called a customer back. And then you would click on Save Changes. And then Do Not Disturb, as an admin, you would click it on a user because they're on vacation and you just want callers to go right to voicemail. All right, voicemail boxes shows your voicemail boxes on the account. You can create additional voicemail boxes, for instance, for use with your ring groups or your queues. You would just give it a name, a voicemail number, and a PIN number. And then you would click on Create Voicemail Box. Once you've created a voicemail box, all right, I think I need to turn off my Slack notifications because that's getting just a wee bit distracting. Sorry about that. All right, so once you've created a voicemail box, you can go to Greeting Media and you can upload a file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Again, you can also record a voicemail greeting over the phone, right? Call into the main number, hit *97. That tells the system you want to check voicemail, and then ask you for the voicemail box number and the PIN number, and then you can get to the personal options to record a new greeting. Now, this temporary file here, right? This would be like your vacation or out of office voicemail greeting, right? So if you have something selected here, it would supersede this mailbox greeting I have already selected under media. And then when this person comes back, I just send the temporary back to none and click Save Changes. And then now the mailbox greeting there would start playing again. Recipients. Now, for your user voicemail boxes, right, they already have a built-in recipient because it's going to email the voicemails to the username email address, right? But if you want people to you want all those voicemails to go to additional staff members, you can add a person here for their email address. And then for any voicemail box you create, you obviously want to put at least one person here so someone knows a voicemail got to this voicemail box. So when you've done those two things, you can then go to Options and you can click on Already Set Up, saying, hey, this voicemail box is ready. And then you have some other settings that you may want to look at. This one here, delete after notification. So the system by default, when it gets a voicemail, it emails the recipient, right? Either the user or anyone you added on the recipient list. There's an attachment on that email so they can just listen to the voicemail, and then the system will delete the voicemail from the system after that email has gone out. This is because the voicemail boxes on Dash are limited to 100 messages each. Once they hit 100, then someone tries to leave a message, they get mailbox is full, please try again later. Right? So by deleting after notification, you don't have to worry about a voicemail box getting full. The next one here is kind of related, right? Attach messages to email. You can uncheck this, and that way you just get the email saying, hey, you got a voicemail, but then there's no attachment, right? So you'd actually, if you uncheck this one, you probably want to uncheck the delete after notification, because then you're saying, hey, staff member, call in, check voicemail over the phone, or go to your user portal and listen to your voicemail. Also here, we got transcribed messages. That's the new feature. Essentially, the system listens to the message and types out the greeting or the voicemail so you can read it. All right, advanced routing. This is mostly for our migrated customers, at least currently. So this one here is direct inward system access, DISA. So for our migrated customers, this would be like when you used to call in to your vConsole account, and at the main greeting, you press pound to log in over the phone, and then you had to leave with option 3 to make an outbound call. This allows you to do that, right? So from your main numbers, that goes to the virtual receptionist. Let's go ahead and enable this, and we'll edit the settings here. So I have a PIN number, and then I would add an extension. We'll say 1021. So now I call into my main number from a cell phone or a landline. I enter 1021 when I hear the main greeting. The system will then ask me for the PIN number, right? So I enter in the PIN number. Then I'll hear dial tone again. And I just put plus, 1 area code and phone number, and I call out. Now, when I call out, the person receiving that call, the caller ID they see is the main number, right? So under the dashboard, under that caller ID, that number I selected, that's the phone number that shows up as the caller ID, not my cell phone number. For new signups, this is something you can have enabled on your account. It's not enabled by default just because it is a potential fraud vector, right? If there are people who enjoy trying to get into systems and see what they can do, right? So if they figure out the extension and the PIN number, they can then make outbound calls on your system, and you wouldn't be aware of it immediately. So that can also increase your bill. All right, call logs. This shows your call activity on your account. The little green arrow to the right means that an inbound call came into the system. I can see that it lasted 21 seconds. I can see the phone number they dialed to. I can see their phone number. And I can see that it just ended normally. All right, if I go back to this month, I can see some more calls. I see I have an outbound call here. You can see where it went. Now, on a normal system, you'll actually see calls go to specific users and ring their devices. And you can see for how long it's ringing a specific device. Likewise, the little fire hydrant icon here, this will create an email. It'll include the technical details, and so you can email support saying, hey, I had a bad call. Now, it will help us if you give us some details about what happened. Like, this says I got a call, but my phone never rang, that kind of thing, just so we know context of what happened. Feature codes, I've mentioned a couple here. The call center ones, these are for making use of the ACD queues. Right here are the call forwarding feature codes. You got the hot desking ones, etc. And so we've all been on the dashboard here. So let's go over to ACD queues. ACD stands for automatic call distribution, the call center feature. The main thing is it has more routing options than the ring groups, right? Ring groups, you can go in order, or you can ring everybody all at once, essentially. In queues, you've got some different options. So you would click on Add New Queue, and we'll just click on the gear icon here of an existing queue to see everything. Right, so you give it a queue name, and then the queue can have either an extension or a phone number. Now, don't forget that queues and groups can also be a menu option off your virtual receptionist or off your auto attendants. So there are still multiple ways for people to get to a queue, as long as you get that set up. Now, over here, you got the queue routing strategy. This one is set on most idle. This means that when my agents are logged in, whoever's been waiting for the call the longest gets the next call that comes in, right? So, Bob's been waiting for a call for 2 minutes, but Mary's been waiting for a call for 20 minutes. Mary gets the next call that comes in. Right now, unfortunately, the pull downs aren't working here, but other routing options include ring all, right? So ring everybody at once. You have round robin, which will equalize out over time. And then you've got least offered, right? So whoever's had the least amount of offered calls, right? So say Bob's been offered 20 calls, Mary's been offered 5. Under least offered, Mary gets the next call. There's also least calls. That means least amount of connected calls. So in that scenario, let's say Bob's been offered 20 calls, but he's only spoken to 2 people, right? Only connected with 2 of them. Mary's been offered 5 calls, but she's spoken to all 5. So under least calls, the next call that comes in goes to Bob. Now, hold treatment, you've got default music. You can upload a file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono. On ACDQs Pro, the hold treatment, you can be much more granular. You can do things like announce position, announce approximate wait time. You can do multiple media files or the same media file multiple times, split it up, that sort of thing. Another thing also under ACDQs Pro, you can set up a route so when someone presses 0, they can go get out of the queue essentially to like leave a voicemail. ACDQs Pro, so ACDQ standard, this is what we're looking at here. Again, $15 or $30 per month, depending on your plan. ACDQs Pro start at $99 per month. All right. Queue timeout, measured in seconds. This is how much time an individual caller can wait on hold, right? How long they can hang out in your queue. Queue call limit, you can limit the number of calls that are actually in a queue. In the case of 0, there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. Basically means you have no staff members logged in. If you enable this, then any caller that comes in is treated as if they've already been waiting on hold for 3,600 seconds. All right, escalation queue. Basically, you can send callers to a second queue, right? So like all your staff is busy, send the callers will go up to the next queue. And then the escalation call flow after timeout. So after this 3,600 seconds, I'm sending them to this main voicemail box. Now, for calls that go up to the escalation queue, this 3,600 timer is still in effect, so they would eventually get to this main voicemail box. Agent behavior, agent recovery time. This is after after an agent has ended a call. They have, in this case, 300 seconds before they're offered another call. Most cases, it's either anywhere from 0 to 30 seconds is a typical setting, right? So basically, it gives your staff member a time to, catch their breath, get a drink of water, maybe finish up their notes in your CRM application. Force away on, reject, or miss. If this is enabled and a staff member misses a call, the system will put them in away mode. And that user will have to mark themselves as ready again before they're offered another call. And then agent connect timeout. This is how much time the system tries to send a call to a user. So 20 seconds. Because again, on queues, right, you have to use wait phones. So 20 seconds is typically plenty of time. In terms of staff members, you click on the little members icon here, and then you would click on manage members. All right, so the list on the left, these are people who are on my system, but they're not available to be in my queues, right? And the list over here on the right, these are all the members who are available in my queues. Doesn't mean they're in every queue. It's just these are the people I can choose to put in a queue. If I want to, I can move someone over. And now they're in my queue. And then I can always remove someone if I wanted to as well. Now, if you go back to that queues page, if you click on a queue, right? You can then add agents, and that's just you click and drag people over, and they can be in your queue. And then you can click on Save Changes, although I guess it's not active. Must have been just cut off. Likewise, once you have agents assigned to a queue, you can click on Add Managers, and then you can make someone become a manager, which means they can log other people out of a queue, for example. Now, for your staff members who are in queues, right, they would click on ACD queues to get to this page. They would click on Begin Session. So now I'm logged in. If I click on this queue here, so you notice up here I'm away, and also on here I'm red. That also means I'm away, right? So then I can mark myself as ready. So now I'm green. So now I can take a call that comes into the queue. Right? As a manager, you can also log this agent out. You also, for staff members, you click on the little phone icon here. You can select which one of your devices to ring to. And again, the system will only send calls to a VoIP device currently. And then at the end of the day, I would just go ahead and end my session. All right, blacklist. This is my blacklist. You click on Edit Blacklist. If you don't have a blacklist, you would just click Add to create a new list. And then you would create a name for the list. Block anonymous. So what blacklist is to block callers from reaching your system. If you're on vConsole, you used auto route to block calls from a specific phone number. This is that functionality. So block anonymous means if we don't get valid caller ID, we're blocking that call from reaching the system. Otherwise, you would click Add Number. You put +1 area code and phone number, and then you click Save. Then you go back to Settings, and you make sure that list is in the selected column. Right? So the numbers on these two lists, when they try to call any of my numbers on my account, they get a busy tone. Just click Update. Right? So they can't hassle my staff members and waste our time. All right, admins can get to faxes, which means they can get to any fax box on the account. Basically see what's happening, both inbound and outbound. You see here, Michael sent out a fax. So he sent it from this number. He sent it to this 972 number. I can download the file. I can see some additional technical information. If I click on the box here, right, I can say, well, I can also delete the file if I need to. Actually, wait a minute. And I can resend the file. The email to fax logs, right, you can see here, this person tried to send a fax out. If I click on the little eyeball here, it will tell me why. Right? In this case, this person isn't actually enabled to have faxing on this account. Monitor is not typically enabled on accounts, but basically what it does is allows you to see the status of your staff members. Right, green, ready to take a call, blue on an inbound call, red marked away, yellow on external call, gold on recovery time from a queue call. The number manager just takes you to your spare number page. The recordings manager, so if you've enabled customize the call recording on your users, you can then go to click on the recording manager. This will take you to recordings.virtualpbx.com. You use your Dash login and you can see the recordings. You can download them, play them back. For vConsole customers, on Dash, recordings aren't automatically deleted after 14 days like they were on vConsole. Instead, you just have a storage amount, usually anywhere from 1 to 2 gigabytes. And then once you go over that, you would incur the next data chunk, so another gigabyte of storage. Reports is in beta. This is the advanced reporting, so it's more granular than the call logs. This is for, again, for our vConsole customers, this is like more similar to the reports that you had on vConsole. If you're interested in this, you want to contact our services team so they can get that enabled for you. For new customers, you also would want to talk to our services team because this is available on select plans, so it may require a change in plan. User portal, again, every user has their own user portal, right? So as an admin, I can only get to my own user portal. I see I have a voicemail here. I see the date and the time, who it came from, the number they went to, how long it was. I can play the message back. I can download it. Now, again, this is because I turned off delete after notification, right? I can put a check mark here, and I can say, hey, I can choose to see, listened, new, or whatever, or I can mark a message as new, unlistened, as listened, or as marked for deletion. Call history, I can see calls that came in or out from my user for this date range, and I can change the date range. Faxes, I can see the fax history for this myself. Contact list, this is the dash contact list, so I can see all the users, all the groups, queues, etc. This is not something I can add to, right? So I can't, like if I was a salesperson, I can't put in my client contact numbers in here. This is only within the dash account. Conference tab. So over here on the right, I can change my moderator PIN as well as my participant PIN number. And then I have the option to have people muted when they join or be deaf when they joined, as well as play entry and exit tones. Up here, I can add other Dash users into my conference. I can lock my conference. I can mute everybody. I can unmute everybody. I can end the call. Once you're in a conference, you can actually also mute a specific participant as well as kick a specific participant. And then under settings and devices, this is where the users can turn on their own call forwarding themselves, i.e. they don't need an admin to do it, and they can adjust these settings. And then they also can see their device settings there. For admins, you can also go to voicemails, so you can get to the voicemail boxes of a particular user, right? So you can still see that same message, and they can delete it. And then lastly, there's webhooks. This allows you to link Dash to other software using APIs. If you're interested in this, you'd want to talk to our sales team. They have some additional information as well as pricing. If you want to see some samples of what can be done, you can go to developer.virtualpbx.com, and you'll see some sample code there of what you can do with APIs and Dash. And that is everything. So I'm going to take us back to the dashboard page here. I'm going to hang out for a minute or so, see if anyone has any questions via chat, and we can go from there. All right, not seeing any questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful day.